coalition to talk about the things that we love that will be affected by climate change. The Chancellor has mentioned we don't have direct investments, so this motion is partly symbolic. It's about showing leadership on the issue. And I hope that we will be ambitious in our leadership. As part of the commitment to a fossil-free city, I would expect to see the Council starting to source all of its electricity from a fossil-free provider, to phase out the use of plastics, to install electric charging points for vehicles so that renewables can provide the power for transport. The history of humankind has been possible because of the intense energy provided in already formed by fossil fuels, so we wouldn't be where we are now without it. But we've developed the technologies to live comfortably without them now, and just in time. As the spectre of climate change becomes a deadly reality for millions, it is only the chronically heartless who continue to avert their gaze from the problems and their causes. The sixth great extinction is underway, and humanity is facing its greatest challenge. We're being asked directly, can you really break your harmful habits and transition to a sustainable global society? So it needs ambitious and clear leadership. But to make this change, we will need to address another hangover from a primitive stage of our evolution, another high-density energy form that pillages the planet, and that's animal agriculture. Animal agriculture is responsible for 18% of greenhouse gas emissions, more than the combined exhaust from all transportation, a figure from the United Nations. Methane is 25 to 100 times more destructive than CO2 on a 20-year time frame. And livestock is responsible for 65% of all human-related emissions in nitrous oxide, a greenhouse gas with 296 times the global warming potential of carbon dioxide, and stays in the atmosphere for 150 years. Even without fossil fuels, if we ditched them overnight, we would still exceed our 565 gigaton CO2 equivalent limit by 2030, just from raising animals. That's without going into the implications for water use, land use, waste, habitat loss, antibiotics loss, and the simple pain and suffering of blameless creatures. So I'm not talking about forcing people, I'm talking about behaviour change, leadership, and making people aware of the facts. Whose responsibility is it? The answer is usually someone else's. I think it's the City Council's responsibility when the planet is at stake. One other comment is about housing, which is part of the amendment. The mid-term review of the HRA mentions new build properties, mentions the strategy. There's no mention of passive house, and I hope that this would be part of the strategy for housing, because the passive house standard can reduce fuel bills down by up to 90%. A three-bedroom house can be heated comfortably for less than £100 a year. So when the new sustainable housing specification comes forward, I hope the councillors will urge this standard to be a central part of it. It can free residents from fuel poverty. It can allow them to pay an increased rent and still have more money in their pocket than they would otherwise. And this is exactly what's happening in Exeter City Council after they adopted the passive house standard for new builds. As well as being able to raise more rents, the arrears have fallen. When heat is allowed to escape from housing as a result of lower standards of insulation, money also escapes out of Cambridge into the coffers of the big six energy companies. So I'd like to see passive house standards form part of the strategy for housing to keep that money in Cambridge. So to sum up, time runs short, but the momentum of the movement for real hope is growing. I welcome this motion. I'm glad to hear the comments on both sides, and I'm gladdened by the promise that it holds.
Okay.
Just very quickly, just picking up on just one point that Councillor Gillespie said. While obviously there are a number of platitudes on both sides, and everyone agrees this is a very important issue, I do think it's also important when we look at the things that we do as a council also to point out things that both us and, to be fair, to the Democrats when they were in power have been doing and also are doing in the future. Only recently as a council, obviously we've procured our first electric vehicle in a number of years. There's a second one on its way. We're looking at the whole open street open spaces fleet on that same basis. I know the Liberals did it before, but in the earlier stages of electric vehicles, and obviously reliability issues now are a lot better, and I think there's more disagreement on that. On top of that, obviously with the whole range of, we've won government funding on a whole range of, on a survey, for example, in the city centre in terms of tax, in terms of electric points for vehicles and things. One of the few councils in the country to do that, and just in the same, but in the realms of our own work and what we are being charged as the authority, we obviously use what powers we have to encourage Stagecoach and have done to improve its engines coming into the city centre and so forth.
Thank you, Councillor. You've got a right reply, you don't have to. If not, we'll go straight to vote.
It's a keenness thing. All I'll say is that I'll sit down then, and you clearly don't want me to speak. No.
Well, no, we can go straight to the vote then.
Just give guidance for councillors who aren't necessarily as up to speed as you are on the procedures, if that would be useful.
So the member's been agreed with us all, so we can go, everyone agree to the amendment, which is now the motion. All those in favour?
You need to take first on the amendment.
Amendment, yeah. All those in favour of the amendment? Now we motion as amended. All those in favour of the motion? No, that's
Put your hand up, Mike.
Right. Go back to the item 7 on the agenda now.